Yes, people, what is going on? Welcome to another episode of the Peter on Pole podcast. We're here Monday discussing all things Gunter Steiner and what's going on with Haas. And guess what, people? Don't think I was going to miss this one, was you? You don't think I was going to miss this one? Mr. Toto Wolff signing a 3-year deal with Mercedes to extend his stay, to cut out all the rumors that has been spreading along Formula One circuit, or along the Formula One news. And Toto Wolff extends his contract. Now, imagine this, right? He's been there 10 years and he signed in 2013. There's a couple of things I want to address here. First of all, 2013 was 10 years ago, just over 10 years ago. Unbelievable. I remember 2013 very, very well. I remember that first year Mercedes had in 2013, which was a little bit, it wasn't all that, if you know what I mean. Like, it was a bit of a rough one. Rosberg and Schumacher, Schumacher's still in that coma even now to this day. But just to think, like, that was Toto's first year. And if you said, he started in 2013, you wouldn't be like, oh, yeah, that doesn't sound too crazy. But when you say it's 10 years, then it starts to look a little bit mad. But listen, enough of all that. The brand new news, breaking news for you people out here is that Toto Wolff extends his stay with Mercedes. Absolutely. Shout out to the people in the comment section. J Starship, what's going on? Don't you worry. McLaren Fan TV tonight will be on as well, live at 7 o'clock UK time. So make sure you go check us out there. But yeah, man, I had to put on the little, we're talking Mercedes. I've got a little Mercedes shirt in the back. Let's have a conversation. Toto Wolff, though, it's big news. It's important news because at least now it puts the rumors away. Of him not signing a new deal, of him not being committed to Mercedes. There was rumblings and there was rumors about him not being at every race, and whether he's lost the hunger, whether he's not as competitive anymore. There's also the fact that the Mercedes team have not had a good 2 years in the sport, and it's been shocking. It's been absolutely shocking. But let's address some of these things. Look, Toto Wolff, we're talking about a billionaire here. We're talking about a third owner, or an owner with a third of the shares, if you will, of ownership with Mercedes at Formula One team. The other 2/3 are run by Mercedes themselves, as well as Ineos, Sir Jim Ratcliffe. Those of you who are of Manchester United fandom will know who he is very, very well. But Toto Wolff has obviously got things going on. There's other stuff happening. It's not going to just be that he's going to be at the track every single race. It didn't bother me when I started to notice it, and when it started to become news, it didn't really necessarily bother me that that Toto Wolff isn't always there. Does this mean something? Does it mean he's not hungry? Does it mean he's not going to be wanting to renew a deal at Mercedes? I never took it in that way. But also, with the fact that he's an owner, there's so much into this. Like, if you think that he was not going to be the team principal anymore, you might argue that he may even never be in Mercedes anymore, if that makes sense. I only feel the only way that he will leave Mercedes is sort of not be team principal anymore is if he leaves Mercedes altogether. Does that make any sense? So that's what I kind of think on the situation. It's a good thing for Mercedes, in my opinion. I think they've got the continuity. Interestingly enough as well, people, it's a 3-year deal, which means it runs until the end of 2026. What is 2026 in Formula One? Brand new set of regulations, big, huge regulation change in 2026. So that could mean one of two things. It could mean, we need somebody who knows Formula One, who can sort of steady the ship as they enter the new regulations, somebody who's been there, done that, worked at the factory, worked in the headquarters for ages, knows what they're doing, knows what they're talking about, and then maybe slowly sort of starts to depart from the team on that side, maybe as the new regulations kick on. Or it could be the fact that maybe, I'm going to make sure I'm here for the new regulations. And if we're looking good, there might be a new deal on the cards, okay? Don't forget as well, Lewis Hamilton has signed up until 2025. So he's not quite necessarily with Mercedes at the new regulation point. But again, it remains to be seen what kind of Mercedes we will have, in the years coming up. J Starship goes on to say, he extended his own contract. Well, this is it, isn't it? You're Toto Wolff and you're writing to Toto. Here is a 100 million a year, whatever. I don't know what the figures are. I'm just making it up. But this is a new contract for you. Please sign here, even though he's written the contract and he signs there. It's hilarious. Listen, he is an owner. he is an owner of the Mercedes team. It's been an interesting one with Mercedes over the last couple of years because, look, the performances have been awful. They've not been great. The horror show, the nightmare that was Abu Dhabi 2021. I know for some Mercedes fans, that's a very touchy subject. We should never touch it ever again. It's a nightmare. It's trauma. It's all of the above. But it seems like they just never recovered from that disappointment. And interestingly, do you remember Toto Wolff at the end of that year? He said everyone's got a target on their back. Remember, he had the black turtleneck, December, it was cold, and he was there sort of like, everyone's gonna be a target next year. And what happened like the next year? They were awful. One race win, which was Brazil 2022, George Russell's win, maiden win in Formula One, and his win in Brazil. And, the whole side-pod saga, the whole, philosophy of the car, the kind of the structure, who to listen to, who to believe. Hamilton was saying one thing. The engineers were sort of seeing something else. The people that were inputting in the data, they were seeing something completely different. And, who knows, the trauma that was 2021, of course, it has to be that. Big up yourself. Make sure you do come. Anybody watching right now, McLaren Fan TV on YouTube, 7:00 later on tonight. Make sure you're there. But yeah, it was definite trauma for sure, Jay Starship says there. But, with everything that kind of took place, they were kind of, they weren't really like, nobody was sort of agreeing on things. There was a lot of friction amongst the team. And the no side pod conversation was huge. It was the big talking point, as well as porpoising, if you remember in 2022. That was a big thing. They got that race win in 2022 in Brazil, and they entered 2023 with the same thing. And I don't know whether the win in Brazil kind of clouded the judgment, sort of maybe even, I don't know, made Mercedes think, no, the side pod is not the issue here, people. You guys are getting it wrong. The side pod is not the issue. Maybe it was, and yet just this win in Brazil, because what happened in 2023 Brazil, it wasn't that long ago. It was a disaster for Mercedes, an absolute disaster. Toto Wolff, I remember he was absolutely embarrassed. He was so fed up. He wanted to get out of the country, and it was the lowest point. I think he even mentioned on Mercedes sort of media channels saying that the worst moment of the year, probably Brazil, especially to what Brazil was the year prior. So, you had all of these things going on, and this goes under Toto's watch, right? The last 2 years are under his watch, and I've always been questioning the judgment in terms of bringing in George Russell into the team whilst Lewis Hamilton was still there. And the reason I said that is purely because you got two drivers who want to be number one. You got two drivers who want to win the races, two drivers that want to be champion, and not just that, but by any means necessary, at any cost, right? Let me take McLaren's line for this year. Whatever it takes. These are the kind of drivers, whereas when they had a Bottas Mercedes, it was a guy who, on his day was very good, was very quick, especially in qualifying, but he kind of knew his role. Hamilton sunned him in his time there, okay? And they just had the Nico Rosberg and Hamilton clashes, right? They had that in 2016 and went with the safe option. Somebody who was still talented, but safe, was a Valtteri Bottas. To then go from that, and I know Bottas towards the end of his time at Mercedes, and probably the Mercedes fans will know better than me, it felt like this guy had signed out, he checked out. And he also said, mentally, Lewis destroyed him because he was so good, because he was so quick, he was so much better. And when you get into a car like a Mercedes, which is the fastest car at the time, and it's the best car in the world and everything else, you think, yeah, I'm gonna share some of the spoils, if you know what I mean. And it wasn't quite that way for Valtteri Bottas. So, a change kind of had to be done there because he was now beginning to underperform. So you bring in a George Russell and you think, oh, you know what? I've got two quality drivers here. I've got one that's in the making, and I've got the most seasoned, most decorated, one of the best drivers to ever exist in Formula One. Most race wins and pole positions and titles he's matching up with Mr. Michael Schumacher. So it looked like a recipe that was like, oh, this is going to be brilliant. Brand new regulations as well. Let's go. And it's just been a bit of a disaster. Last year, no race win for Mercedes for the first time since 2011, meaning they won a race in 2012. They won a race in 2013, and then 14, the rest was history, okay? Up to when they won their first constructors, as well as winning the championship, drivers' championship as well. So And within all of this, Mike Elliott's gone, technical race director, I think he was, and James Vowles went to Williams to become the CEO there, right, or the team principal, team principal there. Sorry, and Toto Wolff jokingly said, "Look, the only way to keep James Vowles was him to take my job." He had progressed so well at Mercedes, but since these kind of figureheads have gone, do they have a role to play? I know Mike Elliott was at the back end of last year, but is there something to sort of be said about these people not being there from the future going on? How will Toto Wolff sort of manage the situation here at Mercedes? How will Mercedes rock up to this brand new season? When will people start saying, when will it be the case? And I'm not advocating this, but when will it be the case that Toto Wolff's job is under pressure? At what point does that happen? Does it happen when Red Bull go off or, fly off into the sunset again for another year in Formula One? Is it going to be when Ferrari start picking up wins again more than Mercedes? Is it if McLaren get their first couple of race wins this season? Who knows? At some point, Toto's got a very big task on his hand. He's got a very, very big task. The next 3 years are the most important years in Mercedes history. I don't want to make it bigger than maybe it might seem to most people, but it's going to be the biggest years in their history, no doubt about it. But yeah, his hunger was questioned, and I disagree with that. Remember, this is a guy, eight consecutive constructors championships. Do you understand what that is? Do you know what that means? The guy has won, Toto Wolff, the team, the Mercedes team, thanks to the drivers they've had over those past 8 years, they won 8. I mean, even in 2021, they won the constructors then. I know all the stories and the topic was about Max and the controversial championship win there. Mercedes getting screwed, Lewis being screwed, if anything. And what you forget is that actually Mercedes still went away with the constructors championship. You sort of forget how much of a task that is. What was going on at Red Bull, that it was only like sort of Max Verstappen that was kind of flying the flag for them. Checo was still good, don't get me wrong. It was still a decent drive from Checo. But yeah, it's been such glorious emotion for Mercedes fans out there, but then also there's been some heartache, some absolute heartache over the more recent years. Okay, but look, he's made a commitment to publicly say, you know what, I'm here to stay, and this is what it's going to be. Do we think this is a good idea? Should Toto Wolff be Mercedes team principal moving forward? I would argue yes, because if Mercedes are to get back to winning ways, I think they're going to have some people. They're going to need to have some people that have been there and done that before. And already we mentioned Mike Elliott's not there, James Vowles is not there. There's a few other people that were sort of there. The guy that went to friggin' Williams, I forgot his name now. I don't know if it wasn't Pat Simmons or Pat, I can't remember his name. But there's a few people. There was a few cogs in that wheel at Mercedes who, when they were flying high, that are no longer there. So they need to at least keep Toto Wolff there. Now, when I say keep, it's like who's going to be sacking him, right? As Jay Starships mentioned, he signed his own contract. Basically that. But one thing is for sure, is it's one thing to commit to say, you know what, I'm here to stay, and we see it publicly with the contract that he signed. It's a 3-year deal, which is a very interesting one. And I think for Mercedes as a team, it kind of gives a bit of consistency, a bit of stability. So you imagine you're a staff member at Mercedes and you're sort of thinking about Toto. Say he signed a 2-year deal. The questions people might ask is, well, what about the new regulations then? What imagine we're going at the end of 2025. Lewis's already contract runs out in 2025, and then we're going to have Toto Wolff's contract run out in 2025. I think there could be something to read between those lines there. Maybe this is Lewis's last contract at Mercedes, maybe. But it was very important for Mercedes to have somebody like a Toto Wolff, a figurehead of the company, at least of the team, be there up until the new regulations are going to fall into place. I think it was much better that way. Big up to Canadian Green Goka. Well, we changing names now? Is that what we're doing? Salute to you, man. So I'm finally back. Yes, good to see you. Listen, tonight, McLaren fan people out there, McLaren Fan TV, we're going to go live at 7 p.m. tonight because we have to discuss some liveries. Okay? Jay Starship says, yeah, it may be his last one. He will hand over the reins soon. Yeah, I think there's definitely a possibility with that. I can't argue that case at all. But I think it's so important that Mercedes have stability going into the new regs. That, for me, is important for the team. Because you lose Lewis Hamilton and you lose Toto heading into 2026. I mean, that's scary. That's not a place you want to be in. So, that's what I have to. Those are my thoughts on the Toto Wolff saga. Have there been? Canadian goes on to say, have there been rumors of a possible replacement? I don't. Well, not as much. I've not heard necessarily anything in terms of rumors as such, but it was more so just the fact that we've got to the end of Toto's time in terms of the current contract that he was on, and it was not. It was a case of will he stay? And it was the same with Lewis. Remember, like Lewis's situation was like a saga for about 6 months, and the last thing I think Mercedes needs to do is to be in that position again. Mercedes had their own troubles in the last 2 years. The last thing they now need to worry about is personnel being there or not. And yeah, Jay says as well, not that I've heard. Yeah, I haven't really heard of terms of who would like be a new team principal there. I mean, the only name that will spring to mind would be a James Vowles, for example. That would be the only thing. And if we're talking drivers, who knows? I mean, George Russell, I think, will take the number 1 seat after Lewis leaves, if and when he leaves. That'll be if we're talking driver replacement. But yeah, in terms of Toto's position, no, there wasn't much said there. That's my thoughts on a certain Toto Wolff. Good to see that he's going to stay in Formula One. I like Toto Wolff. I haven't got anything against him. I like his persona. I like the way he carries himself, and he is a character as well. Let me share something with you guys as well, whilst we are talking Toto very, very quickly. What's going on here, Pete? What's happening here? Let's switch this over. There we go. I want to show you this. Basically, this is from The Athletic, talking about the 3-year contract, and he made a few quotes on a specific on the Telegraph here, which I want to get into. He basically just says, look, I'm not going to hang on to a position that I think somebody is going to do better than me. Wolff said in an interview, I make sure that I have the people around me who can tell me otherwise. In the end, all 3 of us decided, the 3 being Ineos as well as, is it Ola? Yeah, Kalinas, as it says over here, the counterparts here. Ola Kalinas, who was basically part of Mercedes team, the Mercedes company, and Sir Jim Ratcliffe as well, part of Ineos. He said, in the end, all 3 of them decided, let's do it again. So that's kind of, what's happened basically there with in terms of the conversation, how it kind of came about, what exactly brought them to that conclusion. And it seems like they've got a decent situation over there. Can we discuss Alpine? The rumors are crazy over there. What's going on with Alpine? I have no problem talking about Alpine. I can talk all day about Alpine. Let's dive into this. I want to see this because I was going to talk about Komatsu, the new team principal at Haas. He's had something to say, and I want to see what on earth is happening over there. So yeah, what's been the latest in terms of Alpine? You guys let me know. In the meantime, Ocon and Gasly won out. Okay, this is breaking. You guys are breaking the story live on air. Ocon and Gasly. Let's have a look at this. Ocon and Pierre Gasly want out. Let's have a look at this, people. Let's see what's going on here. I've not heard this until now. Let's talk about it. What's your sauce, J Starship? What's your sauce? I'm seeing G. Okay, so something. Yeah, okay. I've seen something here. Let's have a look. Let's share this screen so we can let's do it together, shall we? Let's watch this together. Okay, so apparently, if you guys can hopefully see this nice and wide, let's make this nice and wide. Lovely job, like. Let's see. This is taken from what site is this? This is GP Blog. Shout out to GP Blog. It says Gasly and Ocon have seen enough and want to leave Alpine. Holy smokes, what's going on here? Things have been unsettled at Alpine for quite some time. That is the biggest understatement, Mr. Corwin Kernst. This is the line of this is Alpine right here. Okay, things have been unsettled at Alpine for quite some time, no doubt. And if we believe Spanish F1 journalist Pedro Fermin, the French formation looks to set and enter a turbulent year. I like that. Again, when it comes to the future of Esteban Ocon and Pierre Gasly. This is bizarre scenes, Jeff. Two drivers have reportedly dissatisfied and both want to leave. Both drivers want to leave. What kind of situation are we in that where both drivers want to leave? What the heck is going on? Dissatisfied and both want to leave. Okay, they are said to have already asked their agents to look for opportunities at other teams. Ocon and Gasly's contracts both expire at the end of next season. So the Frenchmen do not seem keen on a contract extension. Interesting. Ocon's still part of Mercedes. That's interesting. Alpine. I had Albon, Ocon, and Alpine all in my head at the same time. Alpine had to make do with their disappointing sixth place Constructors' Championship finish last year, and a lot of the internal turmoil. CEO Laurent Rossi left. Team boss Otmar Safnauer was sacked halfway through the season. Sporting director Alain Permain was allowed to pack his bags, and between the factories in Enstone in the UK and Viry in France, there were strong disagreements. The results are forthcoming, and that would make Gasly and Ocon strongly consider leaving. The only question is where to go. But why do they want to leave? Like, we could talk about where they want to go, and I'm all for it. But why do they want to leave? What's kicked off? What's actually kicked off here? Why do they want to leave? I understand that that they've had enough, and they want to go. Whatever. Like they're not happy. They're dissatisfied. Like what exactly? What? That's the only thing I'm finding a bit hard to tackle here. Jay Starship goes on to say, hearing that they are dissatisfied with the current situation at Alpine could just be rumors. Alpine are the French Ferrari. I'll forever say that. You're not wrong at all. Mid-peen. You know what I'm saying? They're the midfield of Ferrari. They're the Ferrari if they were a midfield team, basically. That is hilarious. That is absolutely hilarious. I mean, we're going to have some fun on McLaren Fan TV clowning these guys for sure. I mean, wow. That is insane. It's bad when both drivers want out. Do you know what I mean? Like, it's not even just, there's only one one driver's dissatisfied. Gasly and Ocon have historically got some beef. They used to love each other as friends, as kids. And then like it kind of grew apart. And like where they are now, it's like, okay, we can be professional, but let's just leave it at that. The fact that they will both want to leave. Listen, we knew the writing was on the wall, guys. We knew the writing was on the wall when Alonso got the hell out of there, and then Oscar Piastri got the hell out of there. We knew it was a circus. We knew it was a clown thing. And I think Ocon and Gasly have probably just sat over the winter and thought, you know what? Why am I here? What am I doing? Why on earth am I here still at Alpine when I could be living life, man? I could be elsewhere. I could be enjoying it. And if Ocon is still a Mercedes type, sort of still a Mercedes driver, he's thinking, man, Hamilton, can you pack your bags, please, and leave so I could join Russell? Do you know what I mean? That is crazy. Alpine, the gift that keeps on giving, man. Thank you very much. Let's move it along as well to Ayao Komatsu. I tell you what, guys. Have you seen these guys talking tough already? Apparently Audi are eyeing Ocon. Okay, let's watch this space. To be fair, yeah, Audi. I mean, don't get me started on Audi. I did a stream on Monday about the friggin' stake F1, Drake being involved. Yeah, it's a horrible name. And Audi, you need to arrive earlier. If you can arrive earlier, Audi, that would be brilliant, because I'm not having this name whatsoever. But have a look at this, right? This was taken from motorsport.com. New Haas F1 boss Komatsu says, I'm not here to replace Steiner's character. Now, I was sitting there like, yo, brother, like, let's slow down, man. Let's pump the brakes. It looks very sharp. It looks very like, don't get me wrong. Komatsu kind of had to come with something a little bit, a bit strong. Do you know what I mean? Like, he had to look like he was serious. He had to look like he was, like it couldn't just be like the stereotype of him is that he's not a Gunther Steiner. He's a lot more quieter. He's probably a lot more conservative, a lot more reserved. And some people might like it, some people might find it boring. But he came out the gate with the comments like this. This is where I'm gonna be like, okay, I'm paying attention over here. If you're gonna be talking like this, then I'm all for it. Newly appointed Haas F1 team boss Ayao Komatsu insists that trying to emulate predecessor Gunther Steiner's personality is not on his radar. Okay, now that could sound like, okay, you know what? That's going to sound a little bit boring. Okay, like why would we? Gunter was what made Haas relevant. Okay, so we want some character, we want something, and I'm not anti this comment in sense of you don't want to be another Gunter, you want to be your own, right? He wants to be his own, Ayao. He wants to be Komatsu. This is his guy. This is let me do my thing. And I'm all for that. That's all well and good. Instead, Japanese says he's focusing on making the right changes that he thinks are needed behind the scenes to help move the American-owned squad off the bottom of the grid. In a wide-ranging first interview and selected media reflecting on his appointment, Komatsu acknowledged that Steiner's larger-than-life character was something that could never be followed. That's absolutely right. Of course, I'm not trying to be Gunther Steiner. He's a very different person, said Komatsu, speaking as Haas's F1 factory. Maybe I was meant to say at Haas's F1 factory in Banbury. I'm not here to replace Gunther Steiner's character. He's a very different character, as you know. He's got very different strengths and weaknesses to me, so I'm not trying to be somebody else. And that's fair enough. Do you know what I mean? That sounds fair enough. You can almost read the headline and be like, oh, he's taking digs at Steiner. And I didn't see it that way. But what I did see was somebody standing on his own 2 feet. At least I'm seeing a team boss who's going to be like, yeah, I'm here now. This is my time. And I'm going to do what I want to do. And I'm going to be myself. I'm going to do with my character. Never mind the Gunters of this world. Gene knows that if Gene wanted a Gunter replacement in that way, he would have appointed somebody else. I understand that Gene wanted something different, so I'll try my try to do so. I will try to be the best version of myself rather than trying to be somebody else. Now, here's what's interesting. I understand that Gene wanted something different, so it's not even like we read that it was performances, right? With Haas, that's what we read. We read that it was performances, and that's why he was let go. Now, the fact that I'm seeing something along the lines of, I understand that Gene wanted something different, it's not even like he's specifying performance, it's like he's talking about character. So clearly we're seeing that Gene wasn't necessarily a fan or got tired after all these years with Gunter's character. That's what we're kind of getting here. That's what I'm kind of picking off here. Let me know in the comment section if you think I'm somewhere near there or I'm way off. Jay Starship says, I'm telling you, they did not like Steiner over there. So, I mean, we say this, but he was there for so long. Like, it's one thing not liking the guy, but how have you kept on all this time without replacing him? How did they manage to do it whereby, he's, we don't like you, but it's not even like he was getting results. He was bringing in sponsorship. He was bringing in publicity. He was bringing eyes to Haas, right? And we get all of that. But if you didn't like him, which I know what you're saying though, Jay, I know what you're saying, because in the end, it's like, this line this line here is interesting. It's a very interesting. When I read it, I was like, okay. Komatsu is adamant that his way of doing things will not be the same as Steiner's, but the objective is clear: get the most out of the strengths within Haas. Which clearly they think that's not what Gunter was doing, according to what people might be saying, according to what you may or may not believe. I'm focused on improvement, obviously, he said. I'd like to think that I'm correct enough, and I'd like to say that I'm polite enough. I'm reasonably direct, I think, and then transparency, honesty. I don't do politics. My goodness, there's things here. They're throwing things here that are making us, the fan, the viewer, sort of read into a little bit more than what we actually bargained for. Are we allowed to see this kind of information? You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm focused on improvement, obviously. I like to think I'm correct enough, and I like to say I'm polite enough. Okay, what do you mean? I'm reasonably direct, and then transparency, honesty. I don't do politics. Haas is going to be an interesting space for the next year. It's going to be an interesting space for the next year. They just better thank God they've got Nico Hülkenberg in that car. Because had they had somebody that was not worthy, had this been the Mick Schumachers and Nikita Mazepins of this world, then people, let me tell you, it would have been a long day if you're a Haas fan. I believe that if you've got the right intention, your motivation is clear to get the best out of the team. I think it will get through to the people and then really empower people to bring them together. yeah, maybe there was a bit of something going on, a bit of friction in that place. Having only stepped up to the team boss at the start of this year, Komatsu has spent the last few weeks trying to build a proper picture of strengths and weaknesses of Haas. He says that before committing to making changes, he wants to meet as many staff as possible, as well as visit the key facilities in Italy to get better understanding of what's needed to be done. And this is the thing: why have they've got bases everywhere? Facilities in Italy, they've got Banbury in the UK. This is where the interview's even taking place. And obviously, Gene is out in America. There's also another facility based there. I'm going to Italy to meet with all the designers and aerodynamicists and that we've got over there. He said, I need to increase my understanding in that area. What are the core issues? How can we improve that? Now, you would think, in all honesty, he's talking like a person who wasn't at Haas. Do you know what I mean? It's like, dude, you was there. You was there when this was going down. Like, I know he was like chief engineer? He was like a big deal in the engineering department. But surely he has an idea of what the heck was going on. I know we saw him as well at the race circuits and stuff like that. So maybe it's not quite the same, but I'm a bit confused by this. I spoke to some people over here, here being in the UK, but it's not like I've spoken with everybody already. So I'd like to wait until I speak to everyone, then get the people together and formulate an overview, rather than me saying, okay, within the last 3 days, I identified this, which may not be the correct representation. Man, it's interesting. I genuinely think that there's a lot to that Haas have to sort of, I don't know, they've got to go back to the drawing board here and actually just start to pull it piece by piece and be like, you know what, like, here's what we need to do. But already I'm getting worried signs about that already. I'm getting worried signs about Haas already. And yeah, that's basically what the thoughts of, you know, the first comments, first statement made by Komatsu at the start of a brand new era for Haas. No Gunther Steiner. Komatsu's in place, and yeah, it's going to be interesting. But yeah, the Gasly and Ocon situation, hilarious. And Toto Wolff signs a new deal. So we've had some stuff here. You've heard it here first. Thanks to Jay. My source is Jay Starship. So if anyone comes for me, that's what we're going for. But we have seen sources as well online, which we have presented to you now. Now, finally, just to say this, that what's it called? I will be on McLaren Fan TV, on X, on YouTube, to discuss the new livery on the show tonight at 8 p.m. with my co-host Mahad from the Pit Stop Fracker. So make sure you do smash a like on this video. Subscribe to the channel if you like Formula One content. This channel here, I talk about all things Formula One. I'm a McLaren fan at heart, so I've got a McLaren Fan TV channel as well, which I do with Mahad as well. So that's where all the McLaren heaviness, because obviously McLaren's livery came out, so you would think I'd actually talk about it here. I'd like to talk about it on here, but also I've got a dedicated channel for that. So all things McLaren, you head over to McLaren Fan TV tonight, 7 p.m. And as for today, for the rest of this show, I've been your host, Peter on Pole. Thank you guys for joining me. If you've been watching the video, you've been smashing a comment, a like, you are in pole position. Until next time, let's see if there's any more breaking news. Until next time, peace.